Welcome to Episode 3 of Des Moines Backstage, the Central Iowa Theater Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Bokart. Today we sat down with Brad Dell, Mark Gruber, and Carrie Scram, who are all involved with the Repertory Theater of Iowa's production of Death of a Salesman, which runs September 23rd through October 2nd at the Des Moines Social Club's Come and Go Theater. For more information on this production, you can visit rtiowa.com. My co-host this episode is Cody Shug. This episode was recorded on Tuesday, September 6th at RTI's rehearsal space in downtown Des Moines. Now, let's go backstage.
Des Moines.
Des Moines.
Des Moines. Des Moines. Des Moines.
Des Moines Backstage.
Backstage.
Des Moines Backstage.
Des Moines Backstage.
Des Moines Backstage.
The Central Iowa
The Central Iowa
Theater Podcast.
The Central Iowa Theater
The
Podcast.
Central Iowa Theater Podcast.
Des Moines Backstage.
The Central Iowa Theater Podcast.
Des Moines Backstage.
Des Moines Backstage, the Central Iowa Theater Podcast.
Okay, guys, welcome to the Des Moines Backstage podcast. I am here. Des Moines. Thank you. My co-host today is Cody Shug. Say hi, Cody.
Hi, Cody.
You jerk. And we have some very special guests today. I'm very excited about it. We're speaking with the cast and creative team of Death of a Salesman from the Repertory Theater of Iowa. We have Brad Dell, we have Mark Gruber, and Carrie Scram. I believe I pronounced everyone's names correctly.
You did great. You did.
Thank you. Brad, you're the director, and would you mind telling it? I mean, let's be fair. If you don't know a little bit about Death of a Salesman, whoever's listening, you're probably not listening to this podcast.
Yeah,
It's
accurate.
a theater podcast.
Accurate.
I feel like this is the introduction play that if you took one drama class in high school, you learned a little bit about Death of a Salesman. I know I did. I'm sure you guys did.
absolutely.
I've read it probably 4 times, but I've never seen it. You know, for being such a popular play that you read a lot, you don't see it performed that much.
Yeah, it's exciting. I think it's sort of the bullseye of what Repertory Theater of Iowa is all about. It is the quintessential American classic. It's there's always all these lists that go out of various different times of the best plays of all time, the best American plays of all time, and Death of a Salesman is usually either number 1, 2, or 3, depending on the list of what people say are the best plays of all time. And so, as you said, it's one that if you know a little bit about theater, you've probably heard of this play, hopefully, and know a little bit about it. And it's just a great opportunity for RTI to get to do kind of what is our calling card, which is to take these great plays and hopefully take them down off their pedestal and not worship them, but wrestle with them and tell the story as best as we can with a contemporary sensibility and what we as contemporary artists can bring to this story in 2016. So
That's what really surprised me when I heard you guys were doing this play. I thought, RTI has been around for a little while. I'm sure they've done this already. And you hadn't,
No.
which blew my mind. I feel like that's the first play that a repertory theater would have done.
We did an Arthur Miller with All My Sons, and that was, I don't know if Death came up at that time.
And Crucible, right?
Oh, and Crucible. So, I don't know, it's on a pecking order. Arthur Miller 1, 2, and 3.
Right, so this is the third Arthur Miller play that you've done.
I think it's a big undertaking. It's a big play in a lot of different ways. It's got some pretty demanding characters, as I'm sure that these two will attest, and I think technically it's got some particularly challenging requirements. So it's not. I don't think it's a show that you take on lightly, which is probably why it's taken a little time for us to head in this direction.
Yeah, it's a big undertaking. I mean, the stage directions and the descriptions of the set and the script are so. It's a lot like a farce set. Like, it has to be a very certain way.
Yeah, there's just a lot of requirements. I think that's a great example of, or a thought of it, comparison of it being like a farce set. There's a lot of stuff and particular things that it requires.
Well, and we were lucky enough we got to see sort of the set last night. I was talking with Jay, and I didn't realize this. The Hand to God set is sort of the same set for this one. Can you tell me a little bit about how that's working?
Well, no. Well, it is. It's not going to probably look that much the same to an audience, but
Some of the bones.
The bones
yeah,
are there.
the bones are the same, and that's thanks to the brilliance of Jay and the craziness of Jay of being willing to.
It's a fine line that Jay
Yeah,
walks.
it is a fine line of being willing to take on the design of both of those shows, so that because we have an incredibly tight turnover between the shows. So
It's literally 1 week, right?
it's literally 1 week.
They
and
close on a Sunday.
They
and you
close on
open
a Sunday,
Friday.
and we load in the same day that they close. So
So
we
it's-
have one less rehearsal in the space.
So
Actually.
more born out of necessity than convenience.
For sure. And then we're like, well, can we make this work? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. And so Jay put it together so that the bones, the platforming, has some. They share some similarities. So we're not going down to zero and then having to rebuild. We're kind of taking the dress off and putting some new clothes on the set.
A new sexy
A
dress.
salesman suit on it.
Yeah, you guys should sell
Nice blue
tickets
suit.
to changeover just to watch that. I feel like that would be fun. We haven't spoken with Carrie yet, so Carrie,
Just
tell us.
Throwing in thoughts here and there.
Yeah, tell us a little bit. I mean, we can start talking about characters. We'll obviously leave the title character for last. Tell us a little about Linda.
Sure. Linda has been married to Willie for probably close to 40 years. Very loving and very loyal. And I think that you could take on the role of Linda and play her as the quiet, doting wife. I decided to not play her so much as doting as she's loyal, but she's also a little bit sassy. She can hold her own. To me, it was important that she's strong. Clearly, she's strong. She's got a family that's struggling, and so.
And she kind of serves as the voice of reason a little bit as well.
Yes, she does.
Yeah, I've heard
Yes.
people describe her, maybe not accurately, sort of as an enabler a little bit.
That's what I wanted to steer clear
stay
of.
away from.
I wanted
Good.
her to be strong, and for you to understand. And it's written in there why she's made the choices she's made. But I think you need to see that throughout the course of the entire play.
Right.
She can't just be someone who's easily stepped on.
Because it would be easy to fall into that trap.
It would have been because it was like I think I kind of started that way, and I thought she'd have a line here or there, and I think you know what, she's strong enough, she can hold her own, and she's I'm going to find that throughout the entire play. And
Well, that's got to be something that you struggle with in any RTI type show, because these shows have been done and done and done and done, and you've been
Yes.
exposed to them, and it's difficult to try and take that character and make it your own without completely doing a 180 from everything that you've ever seen.
right, and not copying the greats that you've seen maybe on film or on stage. But
I was going to ask
creating
Mark
your
about
own.
that later, but I'll just ask you about it now. What's it like playing such a big role that so many big names have also played? Like it's one of the big ones out there, you know?
Well, there's easily a couple of thoughts about that, because most actors want to, of course, refresh themselves from the script directly and be careful to be influenced too powerfully by former performances. Lee J. Cobb, I'm sure was very different than Philip Seymour Hoffman, but this play's been around now for 60 plus years, and the production history is rich, but I have personally never seen A Death of a Salesman in performance, and I'm a seasoned theater goer, and yet I wonder how many of our subscribers will come to say, "Oh yeah, I saw the production in 1982," and so and so. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder.
It's not widely performed.
Not in the Midwest, I think. I think it, sort of in the bigger theaters on the coasts, but I think in the Midwest you don't see it done as often.
Yeah, and yeah, I've talked to people even who saw the New York performances with Hoffman, and of course then there's the television thing that I have a vision of having seen it 10 years ago, when Dustin Hoffman did some televised thing.
Right.
And I have a glimpse in my head of that, but I don't even, zero influence. I thought about saying, Mark, you should maybe take a glance at that, but it's fraught with danger, Fraught with danger to look at Dustin Hoffman making a moment, and I'm going, ugh.
Well, and the script is so rich. I mean,
So rich.
You can figure it out for yourself. I feel like you're a smart enough guy. You don't need to rely on
I've
those
talked
other
about
people.
this to some other people, and with this play in particular, but with RTI shows in general, I think it's not our goal to do something unique. because that's not going to serve us. Then we're serving uniqueness rather than truthfulness. And I think we're trying to look at what's in the script. How can we truthfully approach with what's in the script, including our own life experience?
As if that wasn't enough, right? The
Right.
load to bear the truthfulness.
Yes.
As if that wasn't enough.
Right.
It's plenty.
It's plenty to just tell this story as truthfully and honestly as possible.
Yeah, you don't need
know?
a gimmick or something to kind of hook you into
There's no
it.
gimmick.
Well, there
This
doesn't
is
need
death
to
of,
be.
right.
There
This
doesn't
is
need-
death of. This is not a play that we need to figure out.
Right.
How it exists pretty brilliantly, and so we just get the opportunity to tell this story and to be truthful and honest to what's on the page, and of course truthful and honest to what has been our own life experiences that brought us to this place, and I think to allow what is going on in this world right now and in recent memory to inform our sensibilities about this story.
I feel like it's a very timely play. Like, they're obviously struggling financially, and even though it takes place in
1949
49
and 32, yeah.
Right, it's
The flashback.
you could take it right out of today, I feel like. I mean, I don't feel like there's a
gosh.
lot of traveling salesmen these days, but I mean, you can put any title on
Absolutely.
his profession, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So that we've got of course the family financial questions, but also the just generally speaking the family dynamic of what parents want for themselves and how they want to be successful, and then the pressures and expectations that they put on their children to be successful, and then the children's goals, hopes, desires, and how those play out. I mean, it's an iconic story that I think will be timeless forever and timely always because of the themes that it hints on in such a universal way.
We constantly struggle with how do we knock the dust off and make it contemporary. But, I'm finding even this many weeks into the rehearsals that, as Brad indicated, we got our plate full to tell this story truthfully. And those universal themes and appeals, I think they're going to, if we do them halfway correctly, Miller will just knock your socks off. And there's 7 rows of, hopefully some of you are listening to this are going to be there in one of those 7 rows, and you'll feel that knock. And that'll be powerful in itself. And
yeah.
Well, I think that's why it's still such a widely read play, in schools, because everyone can relate to all of the themes in it.
Right. I mean, you look at the list of the great plays of why is Oedipus and Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet, why are these plays so great? It's because of their universal themes and the way that they touch on what it means to be a human in such fundamental ways that any time, any generation can go, wow, yes, that's me. I've been there. And I think Death of a Salesman does that in spades.
Now, there is something about the work life of an American family that's different in middle 20th century than it is 21st century. And we can, as actors here, probably spend the rest of your podcast talking about how those are distinctive. But the world that my father grew up in, and my family was familiar. My father, anyway, was born in 23. He was familiar with a work life where he stayed with the company, as Willie did. Willie's with the company 34 years and
36 years this March.
What's 36?
He's been with the company for 36 years this March.
Why did I short myself
Just
when
like
I
the
told...
wife, always keeping track.
But you say 34 years.
I do.
Oh, it's great.
Why does Willie short himself?
We just made it. We just made a discovery, folks.
did.
This is great.
We made discoveries last night, too. This
Arthur
is...
Miller
gonna
knows
say-
what he's doing that, can't
I imagine there's not improv like this going on.
All the time. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The work life then and now. I don't know what impact that has, but like Brad said, these universal themes dominate. But the distinctions of like how someone today is typically going to have 12 jobs and maybe work 6.5 years at the most on average in any one workplace, and that's common now. I don't know how that appeals when you're watching Willie in this world. It is a distinction, but then so is the streets of Verona when they're saying, "Do you bite your thumb at me, sir?"
Right.
What has so much? I feel like people are kind of less loyal to their employers today than they used to be, and I think we want to be. We want that as an ideal. We want to be with a company for 30 years.
I think whether or not it happens, it's still sort of the ideal.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to have a job for 30 years. It's just all the jobs I've had I can't stand after 6 months.
You really would, because something's different now about just the need and appetite for a change. And you say, Kyle, you want a job. I don't know if you do.
Well, I want a really good job that.
But I think even the story addresses that change when Willie is fired. He's fired because the world is changing, and he has been passed by. And I would guess that some of the new guys that are being brought onto his firm might start to have a little bit more of the sensibility that Mark is talking about of not wanting to keep the job. I was just thinking of another way that so universal. Me as I was a theater major, and my dad was a construction worker, foreman, a sheet metal worker, and he always tells this story of going into my college theater professor's office and walking into the room and just he had no clue about what my life was going to be like as a theater major. And just couldn't relate in a lot of the same way that I think Willie looks at Biff, who wants to go out and make his life out on a farm and out in the wild. And my dad said to my theater professor, "Just Eileen, will you please tell me, is he going to be able to eat?" And if you've seen me, you will note that that's not been a problem in my life. But I just
You're doing very well.
Doing fine. But anyway, I think I relate so much to both Willie, but also to Biff and Happy and the boys' struggle that we see, kind of this parallel story in the play.
That's what's great about the play, is that it's not just Willie's story, because this family, they get equal share. That first scene with the boys in their bedroom, classic. The two boys, one of my favorite pieces of the play. It can stand alone. Just the two boys rapping about their life. And so that's what's the greatness I think people should come to watch, is that Linda's got the scene where the boys return after the restaurant and dumping their father. Linda's got this capital good scene and makes the play. So it's not just, the scenes with Willie. That's what's makes it a play that stands the test.
We joke consistently throughout rehearsal, like, "Oh, okay, I guess he knows what he's doing. I guess Arthur Mellon knows what he's doing. He's a good writer." Like,
he's pretty good.
Just,
he's okay.
It's almost, we do almost make a discovery at every rehearsal. Oh, that's where that's going, or this is where that thought's coming from, or it's amazing. It's just.
Well, tell us a little bit, kind of about how rehearsals have been going and about your process. Discovering the characters, because everyone's is different.
Yeah.
And Mark seems very stressed
Mark's
about it. No.
Willie has a freaking ton of words.
Right.
And just a lot. And so there's just a lot to bite off in that regard. I'll speak for Mark in that, and he can talk about it too. I've described it a lot, this process. This is kind of a metaphoric way of thinking about it, that it's been like sculpting in that more than any other show that I've done recently, where it's like, we know that David is in there, and we've got this big lump of rock that we just kind of keep chipping away and starting to see the beauty of the final product. And I don't know. I just have felt that, as opposed to like building it from the bottom up, it has felt like this has been a process of revelation.
You're more chiseling it away.
More chiseling away to get at the heart and soul of it.
I will say, for me, rehearsal always goes very well, and I always credit Brad with this. And one of the main reasons I love working with Brad is that he allows for the creativity and trying to discover. I've been trying different physical things for Linda, and I just do it, and he lets me do it until I find it. And there's just a lot of room to play and grow and discover things on your own.
And does a lot of that spark from the fact that you are a company?
I was just going to say there's some of that too. That there's this comfort of working with people that you know and you trust and you respect, and you're
Familiarity. What does it breed?
Well, I mean, that is got to be a great thing, because
Yeah.
I feel like the first 2 weeks of rehearsal for a normal show is just getting to know what kind of what you can get away with in a good way or a bad way.
Absolutely.
And you guys kind of wipe that away by working with mostly the same people.
Right.
You know, this cast is half company members and half non-company members,
Which is great.
Which is awesome. It's and actually all of RTI shows this year that we have casts for 4 of them are 50% or more non-company members. So it's been an exciting year of kind of reaching out and branching out to other folks. But yeah, there's definitely been had to be a little bit of that get to know one another and how do we work. But generally speaking, I think that's one of the prime advantages of working with a company.
And then the joy of working with new people and feeding off of them and how they work, and that
Right, because it's not just the
way.
same old. You're
Right.
still bringing that kind of fresh energy
Right.
into the room too.
Exactly.
That's a good recipe for success there. I feel.
I just love how we sat there and sang the praises of working with the same people all the time.
Well,
but
and
at the
it's true.
same time,
Well,
you can,
and that's what it is, though. Like I get the we joke all the time, like how many times we've been married, Mark, because we have done this so many times. So there is that. I
Is it
respect him.
4 times you guys have been married?
I think this is the 3rd, isn't it?
Our
Maybe
town.
36 years.
It just feels like 4.
I respect Mark, and I feel like Mark respects me, and so we can do our own work and come together and find that. But then it is a joy to watch other people do their thing as they create their characters. So there is a good balance.
Benedict
there.
and Beatrice, they actually are they married at the end? So that's another one.
Sure, 4
Right,
times.
yeah.
4 times, dear.
4 times. Isn't that fun?
Dear.
and so this show's going to be at the Come and Go.
Yeah.
Is that and all of your shows, save for Shakespeare on the Lawn, are at the Come and Go. Is that a partnership that's going to continue? Is that just...
I think there's probably lots of other things are out on the table in terms of how things might change and evolve, and I think our partnership with the Des Moines Social Club is probably one of the most steady things about the future of RTI. I think we feel like the Come and Go is an ideal place to be doing the work that we're doing, and for 2 big reasons that 3 big reasons. I think one, it provides an intimacy for audience and production and actor. I mean, you can be 5 feet away from the action, or even closer, less than 5.
How many people did you trip on in The Hobbit, Kyle?
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah, we were literally around. That's true.
Yeah.
This isn't about me.
But I think that's some of the magic that's at the Come and Go, and I think too, because it is pretty much a standard black box theater. There's also a great deal of flexibility in how the shows can be presented. We just mentioned The Hobbit and a theater in the crazy round. And
That was like 2 round.
yeah, it was like double, triple. It was like a figure 8 kind of.
Yeah.
But and then I've directed several different ways in the Come and Go, and so I think there's that. And then I think the Des Moines Social Club itself is able to reach an audience that RTI that could help RTI to build our audience, a younger audience, a more diverse audience that I think we're continuing to work on and develop. So yes, I think we're excited about the Come and Go and excited about continuing. RTI is proud to have been the very first production at the Come and Go Theater, which was
really?
our town 2 years ago.
Need that
That's
on a
right.
plaque
Yeah.
somewhere.
What's that?
Need that on a plaque.
We do.
somewhere.
Let's get a plaque.
The Our Town Memorial Green Room or something like that. They'll name it after you guys there.
And that starred our lovely Rich Richards, who we lost recently. So just a nod to him.
Absolutely. Boy, I'm really excited to see this show. I've always wanted to see it. Like I said, it's been my favorite show since freshman year of high school. And
Awesome. Tell everybody.
Well, yeah. And
We want, as Mark said, all 7 rows to be filled.
all 7 rows. And it runs, 2 weekends?
Runs 2 weekends, opens September 23rd and goes through October 2nd.
Is that a Wednesday through
we
Sunday?
have 9 performances. So there's a Saturday matinee in there. There's Wednesday and Thursday night performances. So lots of opportunities to see it.
And lots of different flexible ticket packages and
Lots of flexible ticket packages. You can buy individual tickets, or if you want to bring a group, you can do flex passes and get lots of folks to come and see it.
It's like you can get 4-packs, 3-packs,
4-packs,
season
3-packs.
passes.
Yeah, whatever, we want to make it as easy as possible for you to come and experience RTI.
And parking, I just need to say that lots of our potential subscribers who may or may not be listening to a blog, but parking is easy downtown. And this hasn't gotten across to some pockets of the theater community out there who might say, oh, downtown, I don't go there anymore. But it's pretty lively down here, and it's getting greater and greater with the social club. And the parking garage is so easy.
oh yeah,
people.
the ramp
It's
right
the
next
best
door.
place
And
to park.
free.
Fantastic.
Safe you can park in the ramp. It's so easy. So let that not be an excuse.
Enter on Mulberry.
Yes. All right. Well, guys, that was Death of a Salesman opening September 23rd, going through the 2nd at the Come and Go Theater. We've been speaking with the cast and creative team.
Can I just do a
from
shout out?
Repertory. Brad,
go
it.
to rtiowa.com to
RT Iowa.
Yep, to get ticket
And
information.
you can go to Midwest Tickets.
Or you can
too,
go to
right?
Midwest Tickets. We can
Awesome.
either way.
So get your tickets. That's
Get
the
your
bottom
tickets.
line. And come see an awesome show. Thank you so much for letting us talk to you guys.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kyle.
It was a pleasure. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Des Moines Backstage. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. My favorite app is the Pocket Casts app. Also, if you'd like us to feature your next production as an episode of Des Moines Backstage, you can send us a message on our Facebook page. Thanks for listening.
Des Moines
Des Moines.
Des Moines. Des Moines. Des Moines.
Des Moines Backstage.
Backstage.
Des Moines Backstage.
Des Moines Backstage.
Des Moines Backstage.
The Central Iowa
The Central Iowa
The Central Iowa
Theater Podcast.
The Central Iowa Theater
The
Podcast.
Central Iowa Theater Podcast.
Des Moines Backstage.
The Central Iowa Theater Podcast.
Des Moines Backstage.
Des Moines Backstage, the Central Iowa Theater Podcast.